So, central bankers can't save the economy and are actually more likely to make things worse. That's according to our next guest, who says what's needed is, quote, real economic restructuring. Well, joining us now is Peter Schiff, CEO of Euro-Pacific Bank Limited, and author of The Real Crash, America's Coming Bankruptcy, How to Save Yourself and Your Country. That's a very dramatic title, Peter, for a book. I think I'll buy it just on the basis of the, of the title alone. Just outline for us then, how or why you think central bankers should step aside. Most people that we speak to here on CNBC think that central bankers need to do more to get a recovery on track for the global economy, not less.
Yeah, well, the problem is they've already done too much. The reason the economy is in such bad shape is because of the mistakes that the central bankers have already made in the past. And continuing to repeat those mistakes isn't going to grow the economy. I mean, not in real terms. I mean, if you go back to the housing bubble, that was a creation of cheap money, artificially low interest rates by the Fed. If you think that we had a recovery during the period of time where the bubble was inflating, you're mistaken. The reason that we had the bursting of the bubble and the financial crisis and all the carnage that followed, that was the payback from the central bank stimulus when they tried to stimulate us out of the recession that began 2001, 2002 after the NASDAQ bubble blew up. So more of that policy, more cheap money is not the answer, it's the problem. The solution is the free market. We've got to let interest rates go up, and we have to let economies restructure. And only after that happens can we have a legitimate recovery.
OK, Peter, I can roll with that. Extreme capitalism, and there's certainly a lot to be said for it. But if you go with that philosophy, you have to take the pain that's going to be incurred. You have to take the high levels of unemployment and the pain of that restructuring that you mentioned. It's likely to see economies like the US, like much of Europe, suffering very real pain for ordinary folk.
But it's not like we're avoiding the pain now. We're still suffering, and it's going to get worse. We're just postponing it. At least if we do the right thing, we have productive pain. We get the gain associated with the pain. But right now, it's just pain for the sake of having pain, and we're just going to get more of it. And if you look at all the government stimulus, all the central bank stimulus, it's trying to stimulate all the problems. What do they want? The goal of stimulus is to get us to spend more and borrow more and go deeper into debt. That is making the problem worse. We're not going to get out of a hole by digging it deeper.
Talked about what the central bank should do, i.e. raise interest rates. You've just talked about what governments shouldn't do. What should governments do? What should the politicians do, particularly in America, but also if you've got some thoughts about Europe?
Well, to say I would have the same advice on either side of the Atlantic, the best thing that the government can do is minimize the burden that government places on the economy to make it easier to get out of this hole. And that means shrinking the size of government, cutting government spending, eliminating government programs and departments, repealing as many regulations as they can. You know, it's not a question of what government should do, it's what government needs to undo. And that's all the mistakes of the past, so we can free up the economy, we can have a more speedy solution to these problems, we can reallocate resources in ways they need to be, that's land, labor, and capital, and create real growth that raises living standards, that produces more goods and services, and creates more productive jobs in the process.
Okay, so neither the Republicans or the Democrats in the US have had a very great track record in that respect over, certainly my memory. Do you really think that we're going to get an election result on the 6th of November, which is going to help that process?
Not really. I think that, we're going to go over a real cliff, regardless of who wins the election. But I do believe that if Romney is the president, we have a better chance of eventually adopting the free market solutions that would actually work. Because I think Obama is likely to blame the continued failure of the U.S. economy to recover on capitalism, on the free markets, and continue to look for more government solutions to what are in fact government-created problems, and so we may never recover. But I think with Romney, there's a better chance that he'll listen to reason and maybe will change course and abandon the failed policies, not just of Obama, but of Bush and of many U.S. presidents that preceded them.
Peter, Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us today, and have a great weekend. Peter Schiff, CEO of Euro-Pacific Bank Limited. Alistair Newton stays with us for a little bit longer. Do send us your emails. European Closing Bell at cnbc.com is where you'll find us, or head along to Twitter. If you go to at Becky Meehan is where you'll find me. Becky with 2 C's, just to confuse matters as well. Plenty of you writing in about our issue around who's likely to leave the EU. Steve says, I'm not a fan of EU bashing. I'd vote to stay in. Time will sort the problems. We just don't quite know when. So head along to Twitter, follow me at Becky Meehan, and let me know what you think. So we